everyone, welcome to StudyIQ English. Well, Operation White Cauldron is in the news right now. You might be wondering, what is this operation all about? It is about a news that has come from Gujarat. Quite a disturbing news, but then it points out to the larger menace of drug smuggling and drug use in India. Not just across India, today it is an emerging global problem. Now, looking at what has happened is that the Directorate of Revenue Intelligence, the DRI, has found out a secret drug factory in Valsad, Gujarat. This discovery, this busting of the fake drug manufacturing racket has been named as Operation White Cauldron. The factory was producing a drug known as Alprazolam. Alprazolam is a psychotropic substance. It comes under the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act 1985. The drug that was discovered in this racket was valued at about rupees 22 crore. And it is not the first time but the fourth time that DRI has busted a similar kind of racket, just in 2025, under the larger mission of Nasha Mukt Bharat Abhiyan. Now, looking at how is it a global menace, you know that we all believe here in StudyIQ at linking one current event to another, because it helps us learn better. So if you remember, just few weeks before, the fight between US and Venezuela was in the news, because US government accused the countries of Venezuela and Colombia of not being able to control drug smuggling and drug manufacture. US President Trump said it also leads to smuggling of drugs within US, and that's why too many boats, too many vessels in the Caribbean Sea coming from the border of Colombia and Venezuela were attacked by US. In fact, that also made UN Charter Articles 24 and Article 51 come to the news in a very big way. Also, let's remember when President Trump from America, he imposed a very high punishment tariff on China. One of the reasons he gave was that China has been unable to control the smuggling and production of fentanyl drug, a drug that is associated with a very high user base in US right now. Therefore, across the globe, it is drug menace that has made news, and today the news is coming from Gujarat, India, under Operation Cauldron. So let's examine what exactly has happened. So the Operation White Cauldron happened as the DRI seized, it found too much Alprazolam, about 22 crore rupees worth. It was found during an investigation, and the drug was being not only manufactured on a bulk scale, it was also being smuggled into Telangana. It was being supplied there. The accused, the people behind the racket, were operating with full-scale industrial equipments, which just shows the reach and the groundedness and the finance that is available to all these people who are participating in the fake drug racket. And that's a very dangerous trend. So the accused had full industrial scale setup. They not only had reactors, they had industrial refrigeration unit. They also had heating mantle. So it was a full-blown enterprise that was discovered by the government here in Valsad, Gujarat. Now, that points out for the UPSC exam to the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substance Act 1985. What is the purpose behind it? Let's understand. It prohibits, it stops any individual from engaging in any activity that relates to production, cultivation, sale, purchase, transportation, storage, or even consumption of any narcotic or psychotropic substance. It is strictly prohibited under the Act. What is the objective? To ensure that we have to prevent and combat various narcotic drugs circulating without permission, without license. Remember, such drugs cannot even be sold OTC, over the counter. And when such black marketing happens, so many people are found consuming them, not for medical reasons, but purely for recreational purposes. It leads to addiction. And another purpose of the Act 1985 here is to also provide for forfeiting the property derived as a result of wrongful, illicit trafficking of narcotic drugs and psychotropic drugs, at the same time also to implement the provisions of international conventions on narcotic drugs or any psychotropic substance, to add or omit the list of psychotropic substances. All these are the objectives under the broader act. And still, today, as we are seeing, so many such rackets are being busted throughout India. It only shows weaker implementation of the act. But before we actually see the larger trend, it is also important to understand what do we mean by the narcotic drug or the psychotropic substance. Now, talking about the narcotic drug, it means either a coca leaf, a coke, it could mean the cannabis, the hemp, it could mean opium, poppy straw, all such manufactured drugs related to these substances. And at the same time, if you look at psychotropic substances, then these are generally used for psychological disorders, generally strictly for the medical purpose, such as altering mood, helping people who experience anxiety to change their behavioral patterns and thoughts. So psychotropic substances are natural either or they are synthetic. Any material, any salt, any preparation, any such substance that is included under the specific list of psychotropic substance specified in the schedule mentioned for it under the act is referred to as psychotropic. Usually they have a very large scale medical application, but then they are strictly to be provided on medical prescriptions only. And when drugs like Alprazolam are being created by fake smugglers, they are being smuggled across Indian states. Now that is quite dangerous, because not only will it lead to addiction, it is a pure case of medical drug abuse as well. So look at Alprazolam, which was recently discovered under Operation White Cauldron in Gujarat. Now, Alprazolam is also a psychotropic substance that is strictly mentioned within the Narcotics, Drug and Psychotropic Substances Act, which we just spoke about. It falls under the benzodiazepine class of drugs. Why? Because it is often used as a sedative, as a tranquilizer for people who experience depression, clinical insomnia, sleep-related disorders. It's often provided to these people. At the same time, this class of drugs again belongs to a larger group that's called central nervous system depressants, CNS depressants, which slow down the functioning of nervous system. It is also sometimes used to relax patients with hypertension or patients with issues such as mood issues like bipolar disorders too. Schizophrenic patients as well. So it has a very proper medical grade use there. And it is used to, in general, also treat anxiety. Nowadays, it's a very common trend. Such medicines are also being prescribed to some teenagers owing to academic stress, or in general owing to the internet-related anxieties and disorders, addiction. So it's quite a common drug used here. And that's the drug that was discovered right now in Valsad, as the government has conducted Operation White Cauldron. Okay, so just remember it is related to this drug discovery. Now, looking at India's vulnerable position, we know that India sometimes experiences a large scale smuggling of drugs because of being sandwiched into a very strategic location. It's also a very vulnerable location because on the one hand, we have the Golden Crescent, from where most of the drugs are coming. That includes Iran, Afghanistan, Pakistan. That is happening on the western front of India. On the other hand, we see there is the Golden Triangle, which means a heavy inflow of drugs coming from Myanmar, Laos, Vietnam, Thailand, called the Golden Triangle, which makes India's eastern front highly susceptible. So therefore, dedicated implementation of the act and regular monitoring, that's the only solution, because otherwise it's a major danger to the youth of India as well. Now, looking at the Death Crescent, a part of the Golden Crescent, it is, as I mentioned, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Iran. That is where majority of wrongful, illicit opium, heroin cultivation takes place. For example, it accounts for 80% of global opium and heroin, with Afghanistan continuing to be the leading producer and exporter. This also reminds me of how recently the Indian government has decided to upgrade diplomatic relations with Taliban. One key agenda of upgrading the relationship is also to ensure that Afghani soil is not used for anti-India terror attacks, as well as to divert the youth of Afghanistan from engaging in opium and heroin to doing some kind of meaningful work. And that's the reason India is also helping with regards to school education, college education, degrees and skilling. That's the whole purpose. Now, if you look at the death triangle we just saw on the map, this denotes the remote tri-junction border between Myanmar, Laos, Thailand, which has also been a center for opium production and distribution. So now with this typically sensitive situation of India, it is quite expected that very often such rackets will continue to be busted. But then it also highlights to a stronger responsibility, not just from the government, but also community participation to provide rehabilitation to those youth who are into drug abuse, at the same time to create awareness at the level of education itself. Just like our new education policy 2020, the NEP, focuses on vocational skill, it talks about waste management, environment. We could also definitely create more sensitization over the raging problem of drug abuse. And now, quickly the practice question. Consider the following statements regarding Operation White Cauldron. We just saw. 1. It is a nationwide anti-narcotic operation led by Directorate of Revenue Intelligence, the DRI, under the provisions of the NDPS Act. We just saw the act as well. 2. The operation specifically targeted illicit manufacturing units including synthetic drugs and psychotropic substances, for example, the Alprazolam. And 3. The Operation White Cauldron is a part of Nasha Mukt Bharat Abhiyan. That's the larger initiative that aims to strengthen interstate enforcement between states, coordination against drug trafficking networks. So which of these statements do you think is or are valid? You can post your answer, but at the same time, if you have a non-political UPSC relevant opinion, do share with us. We'd love to hear your comments on that. And on that note, quickly a reminder about the SAIL program. Now, those students who felt that they want to take more mentorship, more preparation, they have to do for UPSC 2026. Do not worry, because still we are planning to reintroduce another batch that begins on 10th November 2025. The idea is to allow those who are writing the paper next year to undergo a quick crash course, a dedicated intensive crash course, where we ensure your complete prelims preparation. From current affairs, news to CSAT, everything, to ensure that no one is left behind. Because the price is as easy as 5,999. And what are you getting in return? A full UPSC preparation module in the form of an intensive, rigorous crash course. There is another platinum plan that's 7,999. If you want to know the details, please use code SPLIVE on the screen and apply for the sale. Or else you can also fill up a form that's here in the description box of the video and we will get back to you. This could be one last chance to ace UPSC 2026 with our dedicated intensive crash course with the best of faculties, the best of 24/7 mentors. And now comes the 2027 opportunity. For those who are writing the exam in 2027, you can still use code SPLIVE because the opportunity is equally bright. 20,999 only for more than 1 year of rigorous training. Batch begins 18th November. What do you get? All GS subjects, all CSAT prelims guidance, essay writing. Apart from that, one optional of your choice, heavily discounted as well. So please use code SPLIVE and enroll for the sale. Batch begins 18th November, ensuring and guaranteeing you UPSC success, because 1 year of dedicated preparation with expert faculties, there is no way that success can elude you. And do remember, it's for Hindi, English as well as bilingual medium students. So anyway, everybody is welcome to participate. And for 2028, time is there, but time is there to utilize. It's never to waste. So still you can explore a sale that begins at 34,999 only for more than 1 year and few months. Much more than that. All GS subjects, CSAT, prelims, current events, news, essay, optional covered here. Optional, heavily discounted, all others are part of the sale. Hindi, English, bilingual, all applicable. For working professionals, morning batch, evening batch, weekend batch. Whatever time suits you, we are here with right guidance for you. Batch begins 18th November. Do enroll by using code SPLIVE and make sure that you do not take any risk. Do close all the ends by taking professional guidance and enabling UPSC success for yourself. Thank you.